This is Practice Exam 2 for Management 1400 and the Microsoft Office Excel Associate Certification. So really quick, just to let you know, there are 10 worksheets. Each worksheet has different tasks that need to be completed. I would like it if you tried and progressed through the worksheets without using the video instructions, because on each worksheet are the instructions. So if I scroll down here, on each worksheet we have the instructions. You can download the instructions from the instructions PDF, and make sure that you've also downloaded, besides the Excel file, Practice Exam 2, you will need to have also downloaded and know where you downloaded it and place it on your computer, the text file, because we'll be importing a text file into Excel. So we need to make sure that we've downloaded all those. So we're going to start here on the Hand Up Club tab. And as we progress through these, we will continue to the right. And those of you that need to see, you can see down here, I can push this button to the left and right and have our other sheets come up, okay? Or all sheets. But we'll progress through these. So the first thing that it asks us to do in our instructions, and I'm just going to have them right here, I know what they are. So in our instructions, the first thing it's going to ask us to do is navigate to the range total and delete the contents of the selected cell. Now when it says navigate to the range, that means it's a named range, and we can just click on the name box and we're going to navigate to the range called total, and it brings up total members, and we're just going to hit delete. Okay, and we've completed number 1. Number 2 is insert a column in the table to the left of the first name column. Name the column ID and then start with HUC 1000 and fill down, meaning HUC 1000, HUC 1001. This is the Hand Up Club membership ID. So it says right here, insert a column in the table. So we can just actually just right click on first name and click insert, and it asks columns to the left, table columns to the left, and you see that it created a new column here. And we want to name that. We want to name it ID. So ID number. And it says right here to our first ID is HUC 1000. And to work on filling down, we could do HUC 1001 right here. And then if I highlight those and hit the copy button down there, it just filled it in down, and we see that we have 14, actually 15 people in the club. And we'll work on that too. Step number 3 is in cells H7 through H21. So H7 through H21, we can highlight those, and there's a couple ways to do that. Format the numbers so there are no decimal points. The other way to highlight this is we can come here to the name box. We can type in H7 colon H21 and 7 H21. And this might be the easiest way to do it in Excel to make sure you, for your exam, to make sure you've got the right box. And right here it says format it so there's no decimal places. That's over here in our number formatting. So it's formatted as accounting, and accounting always adds 2 decimal places. And there's a couple ways we can do that. This is increased decimal, that's decreased decimal, and we can just click twice and get rid of the decimals. Okay. In cell K5, it says use a function to count the total members in column B. I skipped one. It says remove the table row containing the member Mary Perry. Do not change any of the content outside the table. So we have Mary Perry. She's in number 19. We can click on that row, right click, and hit delete. And we're deleting a table row. And you see that we can go, it just moves it up there. And maybe Mary quit the club or something like that. So remove the table row containing the member Mary Perry. Okay. Now we can go on to step number 5. In cell K5, use a function to count the total members in column B. We got to remember this. We would think we would just use a count function, but count only counts numerical values. So if you remember, we have to use the count A function. So count A for anything, and our values are in column B. So we can just highlight column B, come down here and enter, and we see that we have 14 members. We had 15 until we deleted Mary. Okay. The next step is in M5. So we're in K5 over here. Now move to M5. It says in cell M5, calculate the average donation from the total column. So here's a total column here. And we could name this range, or because it's so small, we can just highlight it. And so it's equals average. So be prepared to do an average and a sum and an if function on your test. And what numbers are we averaging is from the total columns. We do that, and we see that the average is 3178. Now, on your exam, it may or may not ask you to take this out 2 decimal points, but because it's financial, I would take it out 2 decimal points. If they don't ask you to, leave it. Just click accounting, and we'll see that the average donation is $31.79. So we've completed step number 6. Step number 7 says in the email column. So we have the email column right here, and I'm just going to left justify that. You will already have that on there. On the email column, it says use a function to create an email list by joining the first names and last names of every member using a period between the first and last name with the address at handupclub.org. Okay. And the example it shows is mark.jones@handupclub.org. So here we have is, we know that if we're joining things, it's concatenate or concat. So equals concat. And an easy way to do this, I'll just add the text here, but another easy way is come up here to the insert function, and it's asking us for text number 1. And so we did it by first name, last name. So text 1 is first name. We want to add a period between the two. So we need to do quote, period, close quote, with no spaces or anything involved, because in an email address you don't have spaces. Text number 3 is the last name, at last name. Text number 4 is we're going to type this in. And when we're typing this in, we got to add our quotes. So at handupclub.org. Okay, and then close the quote. And now we're done. It brings up text 5 automatically, but it doesn't mean that we have to use it. And now we have an example here of what it looks like. Right here, brian.connery@handupclub.org. And if that's the way we want to do it, we click OK. And then because it's a table, it automatically fills down for us. And I'm just going to adjust this. You're going to have to get used to adjusting columns. This is adjust to fit between E and F. I put my cursor and we get those double arrows, and I double click and it does it automatically. Later on, we will actually work on formatting a column and rows using a specific format tab. So we've completed step number 7. Step number 8 says remove the table functionality from the table, which basically when they said remove the functionality, they're asking us to turn this into a structured range. So to do that, we just click anywhere on the table. We click over here, table design. And when table design comes up, here to the left under tools is convert to a range. We choose convert to a range. And it asks us, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? We say yes. And we see that all of the formatting is still there, but now it is a range. And again, there's reasons to do one thing as a range versus a table, and vice versa. Step number 9 says use an Excel feature that allows row 6, the headers, and the title to remain visible as you scroll vertically. So as we scroll down, okay, up and down vertically, it asks us to use an Excel feature that allows row 6, which is the headers row, and the title to remain visible as you scroll. So if you remember on this, this is freeze pane. It freezes either the column to the left or the pane above. So we got to highlight row 7. Okay, go over here into the View tab, and we'll click Freeze Pane. And under Freeze Panes, we can either freeze the first column, the first row, which we don't want to do. We want all the rows or that above or to the left. And now we click Freeze Pane, and we can see as we scroll vertically down that we can still see the ID number, first name, last name, and email address. Okay, on there. And the last thing, it says use an Excel feature to right indent the number of months column and increase the right indent to 1. And this will just make it easier to read. So right here on this right indents, okay, we can just click on this. This is the column we want right here. And usually when they ask you to do this, it's not including the header. So we want to do that right there. Okay. We'll go on to the home screen. And right here in our alignment tab, this is where it's talking about. We can click this pop out right here, and alignment comes up, and it asks us to use the right indent. So alignment in our horizontal is right indent, and we want to do it by 1, and click OK. And now it moves these months over just a little bit, so it's not right next to the dollar signs. So it makes it just easier to read, and we have now completed our first worksheet, Hand Up Club. So now click on sheet number 2, or our Colorado customer sheet. That's the one we're working on. And we have our instructions down here on the right side. And we'll go through each one of those. So we did a right indent. And now the first thing that we're going to do on this one is use a left indent alignment on column A, because we've got all this information right next to the customer name. So it makes it easier to read. So on column A, we're going to highlight column A, and a quick way to do that is I can just put my cursor in column A, because I don't know how far it goes down. It doesn't go down very far, but I can put my cursor in there and do Shift Control down, so it highlights everything in column A. And I'm going to go back to my alignment here, and we're looking at our horizontal alignment. Before we did a right indent, this time we're doing a left indent by 1, and click OK. So what it does, it moved it from over here, but instead of putting it next to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it indented it right here. Okay, so it makes it easier to read. Step number 2 is extend the formula in cell G2 to the end of the column. And so this is a formula that shows the taxes that are owed for this. And to extend the formula, we can either drag it down or double click on our little green button right there, that little green square, and double click, and it extends the formula all the way down. Step number 3 is format the table so that every other row is shaded. Use a technique that automatically updates the formatting if you insert a new row. So click anywhere on the table, click on Table Design, and right now it's meaning banded rows. So click on banded rows, it's just every other row. If they ask for every other column, it's there. If we want to do first column or last column highlight, you can do those, but in this case it's banded row. Step number 4 is in a multi-sort, a single multi-sort. Sort the table by the city with Denver first and Boulder second. So we can either type those in, you'll see that, and then sort the order amount highest to lowest. So we click on our table right here, go into data, click on our sort button, and so it says sort the column, and it's going to ask which column, and so we want to sort by city. And in this case, we know that it's Z to A because Denver becomes before Boulder, but if we needed to, we could go into custom list, and we could actually write that in. So we can come in here and write in Denver, comma Boulder. We can add that list. So if we had something else where it was a little bit different, which you might have on your exam, I can now click OK. And so it's going to do the city, Denver, then Boulder. I'm going to add a level, and the level it's asking us to do is the order amount. And so we're going to choose our order amount, and we want it from highest to lowest. So we need to come over here and choose largest to smallest. And now click OK, and we see that we have Denver and the top orders. Then we get to Boulder and the top orders. Okay. Step number 5 says use an Excel data tool to remove all records with the duplicate invoice number values from the table. Do not remove any other records. So to remove duplicates, we click on the Data tab, and then it's over here in Data Tools. And you have to know that's in Data Tools, and I don't like the way mine is showing right now, because normally the Data Tools would be out a little bit further, but the way that my screen is set up right now, I don't get the whole thing. Let me see if it won't let me do that. And it's Remove Duplicates, and click on Remove Duplicates. And it's asking us which columns we want to remove the duplicates in. And we can uncheck these, okay, or unselect all. My data has headers, and the invoice column, if there's any duplicates, we want to remove those. One duplicate was found, 24 unique values remain. And so we click OK, and we want to do that because if we're looking at what we need or what we have, we don't want to double bill somebody, or we don't want to double count income. So the last thing in this one is format the flag picture to have a hyperlink to colorado.gov. This is Colorado's flag, so click on Colorado's flag. And once we've clicked on Colorado's flag, most of us would think we would hit Format Picture or Picture Format. It's actually the Insert button. So we click on Insert, and then over here to the right is our Link button. And we can click the drop down or just on this link, this chain, double click that, and it comes up where we want, and we have to type it in the address bar now. And so we would type in https://colorado.gov, and then on your exam you'll be able to just copy this address. You would just copy it and paste it and click OK. And now if we click on that, it should take us to colorado.gov. So that's the last thing that we have to do for the Colorado Customers Worksheet. And now we'll go to the Orders Total Worksheet. So down here at the bottom, click on Order Totals Worksheet. And if we scroll to the right, we can see our instructions. So on our instructions, it says turn the range A1 to H125 into a table. So right now, this is not a table, it's a range. So it's asking us to turn this into a table. So we can click on A1, and we'll go here to H1, and then I'm just going to do Shift Control down. So that highlights everything in there. And we're going to click now the Insert button if we're not already there, and then Insert Table. And so now it's asking us A1 to H125. That's what we want. Convert to the table. My table has headers. Click OK. And now we've converted a structured range into a table. The second thing on this is remove all conditional formatting from the worksheet. So we see that there's already some conditional formatting here. There's some numbers that are highlighted, and it wants us to get rid of the formatting. So we can just click anywhere on here, go to our Home button, go to Conditional Formatting, and one of the things is Clear Rules. And this is just the formatting, the conditional formatting rules. It doesn't clear everything else, you know, and from this entire sheet or from this table. And the question asks to remove all conditional formatting from the worksheet. So we'll choose entire worksheet, and you can see that the green is gone. Now it says enter a formula in J3. So we're here in HIJ3, okay, that uses an Excel function to return the net amount value that is the highest value in the column. So the net amount value is asking for the highest value in that column. And that formula is max. So we can do equal max. Now when we do this, it's asking for our numbers. So I'm just going to put my cursor in H2, Shift Control down. I'll go all the way down to H125. Okay. There, and just hit enter, and it's saying that our highest number is 8,821,789, and in this case we're just going to take it out to 2 decimal points. Okay. That's the highest number. The next thing that we're going to do in this orders total is we have this order amount F, G, and H. We're going to take columns, format columns F, G, and H to accounting columns. So the easiest way is we can just highlight all of those columns. If we're not on the home page, click on the home page, and we can drop down to accounting. And so now all of this is listed as accounting, and on my highest net order I would also put as accounting, but do what is asked on your exam so that these are actual numbers, and so we can actually see that they're monetary numbers. Step number 4 on this is set the row height to 18 for the table. So an easy way to do this, if we're doing it for all of that, we can highlight the table, the entire table. Okay. And it says set the row height to 18. So on this, make sure we're on the home button. Go over here to format. We're formatting the row height. And right now it's 14.4 and it says set to 18. Click on 18. Okay. And so it's just a little bit bigger. So if we were, down at 100% here, it would be easier to read a little bit. Now, the last thing on this one is sort by invoice number, smallest to largest. So we can just click on that column there, or go into data, sort. It's asking us which column we want to sort. We want to sort the invoice column, and we want to sort it from smallest to largest, so we have the first invoice first. So now we have invoice 101, 1001, and it goes through all the invoices there. And now we've completed the ordered totals worksheet. Now on to the next worksheet, auto safety. Let's click on auto safety and bring up this worksheet. I'm going to minimize it just a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay. Down here we have our instructions. We'll go through all of these. Okay. So the first thing is configure the worksheet so only cells A1 through H21 will be printed on there. So to do that, I'm going to click on page layout. And then once I'm on page layout, I'm going to go down here to the bottom right. So we have our normal view, our page layout view, and our page break preview. If we click on page break preview, and I'm going to make this a little smaller, make this so we can see it. Now I'm going to go over here between F and G. You see how I have this line. I'm going to go up here and take this line, and I'm going to drag it to the right. So it's now showing just one page on here. And now I'm going to go over here to the name box, and I just want it from A1 to H21. Okay. What we want printed. I'm going to click enter, and I'm going to highlight. It highlights from A1 to H21 is now highlighted. Go into our page setup, click this drop down on print area, and set print area. Now we can see that only this area will be printed, this page 1, A1 to H21. Next thing that we're going to do on this, and now I'll unclick and go back to normal view on this, is filter the data in the quarterly profit analysis table so only the product codes that start with FA are displayed. So it's asking us to come here to this table right here in product codes. FA are displayed. So I'm going to click this drop down right here, the filter, and right now everything is selected. I'm going to unselect that and now select the only ones that start with FA and click OK, and now it's filtered to those product codes. Now in the best sellers column, it says use a function to display the word yes if the value of the product in the average column is greater than 10. Display the word no if it is not greater than 10. So right here in the bestseller column, we know the key to this. It says if the value of the product in the average column is greater than 10. So we know what we're going to do an if function. So we're going to click if, and it asks us for our logical test. And we can always bring up the insert function bar, and it's asking for our logical test right here. And our logical test in this case, and when you look at the wording of the question, it tells us what our logical test is. If the value of the product in the average column, so our logical test, there it is greater than 10. So if that is greater than 10, okay, there's our logical test. It's telling us to type the word yes, okay, to display the word yes in the bestseller column. So if it's greater than 10, we want to display the word yes. In this case, if it's not greater than 10, we want it to display no. Now, a lot of times in the exam, it may say to leave it blank, and if we remember to leave it blank, we would just add double quotes. Okay, not to the no, but that's how we would do it on the test. And now we can just click OK, and we can see the yes and no's are displayed. Step number 4 is calculate the selling price in cell E14. So we come down here to E14, okay, by adding the unit price to the markup. So here's our unit price, here's our market price, and it wants the selling price by adding these two prices. So that's just a formula we're going to write. We're going to equals, we're going to point to C14 and just add that to D14, click enter. And now we can actually copy that down either by dragging it down or doing the double click. Step number 5 is format the unit price, the markup, and the selling price columns to accounting. So it's asking us to take these columns here and format that to accounting with 0 decimal places. So I'll highlight those columns, go to the home, choose accounting, and now it's asking for 0 decimal places, so I'm just going to decrease it. The other thing is you could have come here and chosen accounting. So I'll show you that this way. I can highlight all of these. I can do my pop out here in the number format. I can choose accounting here, and it's asking me for a number of decimal places. And I can choose 0 there and then OK. So that takes care of step number 5. Step number 6 is create a clustered column chart that shows the description of the product and the units sold in months in the quarter 1, which is January through March. Use the product descriptions as a horizontal axis label. Place the chart to the right of the table. So we've done this a couple times. In this case, we got to go here to the description, and that's what it's asking for, the description of the product. And we're going to highlight that. We're going to use the control button, and we're going to highlight January, February, March, all of those, while holding down the control button because this data is not next to each other. Then we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to go here to Charts. And if we click on it, we can click on it here for all charts. And the very first one is a clustered column chart. Shows us what it's going to look like, and we're going to click OK. And it says to move this chart to the right of the table. Okay. So now we have this clustered column chart here. Now it asks us to make sure that the product description is on the horizontal axis labels. And one way to make sure that we have it correctly is we can click on select data. If we've clicked off, click back on our chart, click select data. And notice here, we can switch our columns and rows here, but it's telling us right here, horizontal category axis labels. And we see that we have our product descriptions there. So that's just a double check. There isn't anything that we need to do there, but that's just to double check it. It also asks us to add an alternative description, okay, to the chart. And this is for people that are hard of hearing or those type of things. Not hard of hearing. They have bad eyesight or they're blind and they're working on it and they can't see it very well. There's programs and things that you can do that will read the text or will read what the chart is about. So we want to add that as an alternative description. And again, to get there, if we've clicked off of the chart, click on the chart, and this time instead of chart design is formatting. And to the right here, we have alternative text. So display the alternative text pane, we click on that, and we can just type in the alternative text, the description, and it can be something as simple as product description, chart for the auto safety equipment. Okay. So something simple that they can get in there. And a lot of times on your exam, it will tell you what it wants to say, and you can just copy it and paste it. And in this case, the description we actually want is units sold in Q1. So let me take out of that, and it's actually units sold in Q1. Okay. And so we don't click enter or anything there. It doesn't do anything. It just moves us down. So when we're done with that, we can just click on the X for our alternative text. Now it says in cells I5 through I7, so I5 through I7, there, insert a column, spark lines to represent the units sold from January to March. So in this, we don't highlight this right now. We just click on I5. We go to the insert button, and we have spark lines as a completely separate set of charts. And it's asking for a column spark line. So we click on column spark line. It's asking us for our data range, and that's from January to March. We just click on January to March. There, highlight those and click OK. And now you see that we have this column spark line. And to copy it down, we need to manually copy this down. Okay. The last thing that it's asking us here to do is turn the profit analysis range into a table and add the total row to the bottom of the table. So it's asking us for the profit analysis range. So this is the profit analysis range before we actually looked at turning a range into a table or a table into a range. It's asking us to take the range and turn it into a table. So we can just click on this, and we want to highlight the area, do insert, and right below it is table. And it's asking us for our table range. Yep, it's A13 to E19. That's what we want. My table has headers. Click OK. The last thing it says on here is add a total row to the bottom. So we have our selling prices and things like that. Click on anywhere on our table, go to table design, and we can click total row as our table style options. So we just wanted to add that to the chart, and now we've completed the auto safety worksheet. Now let's move on to the July sales worksheet. And again, I'm going to follow along with all of our instructions here. And so the first instructions that we have is left align the text in cell A1. Oh, so in cell A1, we actually have July sales on the right aligned. It wants us to left align it. And in this, we can just actually come up here on alignment and do align left. And so now July sales is here on the left, so it's easier to read. Next, in the code column, here's the code column. Use a function to display the first two characters of the business type, okay, from column D. So if you remember, we've done left functions and right functions. And so on this is we want the first two characters of the business type. This is actually our left function because we're going to the far left, and how many over from the far left. Okay, so equals left is asking us what text we want. We want it from our business type text. If you remember, we always got to add a comma when we move between functions or between what we need to do inside a function, what it's asking to. So it's asked us for our text, and it's asking for how many characters. It's 2, and we can just hit enter. And now our code, we can see it's the first 2 letters of each of the business type names. So we've just completed in that our step number 2. Let's go on to step number 3. In the amount column, use the conditional formatting to apply the 3 traffic lights unrimmed to the format the values. So in the amount column, so here in the amount, it's asking us to use conditional formatting. So we're going to do Shift Control down. I'm going to highlight that. Go to my home column, click on conditional formatting, go down here to my icon set, and come down here to traffic lights. And notice when I hover this, it says 3 traffic lights unrimmed. If I go to this side, it's 3 traffic lights rimmed. So we're going to choose 3 traffic lights unrimmed. And now it's showing us positive is the higher ones are green, our middle ones are yellow, and the bad ones are red in this format. So on to step number 4. It says to apply the Aqua Table Style Medium 10 to the table. So if we haven't already, we can just click anywhere on our table. We can go up to Table Design, and on the right is our table styles. We should get familiar with some of these before your exam. Choose the drop down, and we have light, medium, and dark. So if it says medium, we know we come down to this one. And it says Aqua Table Style. So we come over here and find Aqua Table, and that's style medium 9. Come over here, and here's Aqua Table Style medium 10. We click on that, and it changes our table view. Next, it says apply the monochromic palette to the chart, not to the table. This time we're applying to the chart. So we click on our chart here, and under chart design, we have chart styles. We also have change colors, and this has applied the monochromatic palette 3 to the chart. So we click the drop down right there, and we have these colorful ones, which are different colors. The monochromatic is the same color, but different shades. And for this question is apply the monochromatic palette 3 to the chart. And this is so that our chart can match our other colors. And choose that. Now on the chart, it says display a table without legend keys. So I'll scroll down here to bring up our chart. And I'll just make this smaller so we can see it. So click on the chart. A lot of things that we're going to do for the exam, you'll do chart design, add chart element to the left. And right now it's asking us to display a data table. So we come down here to data table without legend keys. So no legend keys. So there we have our data table down here at the bottom. And we have just completed July sales worksheet. Now we're going to go on to the import data worksheet, and it says our instructions right here is make sure you've downloaded the text file wizarding items beginning in A1. Import the data from the wizarding items text. Use the first row of the data sources headers. So in this case, we're going to go in here to insert. Actually, we're going to go to the data. We're going to go from text CSV. So we actually click the data tab. We're going to insert a text CSV file. We're going to click on that. Take a second to come up. And now I'm going to look at my downloads, and I have my wizarding items right here. I'm going to click import. I'll have a pop-up come up here in just a second. And now we can see that it's already showing the way we want it. It's magic item, size, price. We got our wizarding hats there, so it's made it the way we want. If we need to, we can always click transform data. And we can use first row as headers, but it's already in there. Okay. And it's adding some other data in here as null, or we can actually and delete those. Okay. In there. And now when we do this, we don't just click close and load. Click the drop down, and it's close and load to. And now we have our pop-up, and we select how you want it. We want it as a table, and we want it in an existing worksheet, and we want it in cell A1. It just took a minute for that to come up, and it's loading our rows in there. Okay. And on mine, for some reason, it loaded extra rows. I can just come in here, go into my button, click right, click delete, and get rid of those extra rows. Okay. And then click out of there. And on the import data worksheet, it says adjust the column width. So this is the column width of column A to exactly 21 points. So highlight column A. If we're not in the home button, click on home. Go here to the right to format. And we want column width. It's 18.42 on mine right now, and make that 21. And go ahead and click OK. And now we have completed the import data worksheet. Now let's move on to our Wizard merchandise worksheet. So over here on the Wizard merchandise worksheet, we have our instructions. And our first instruction is modify the chart so that dollar amount is the primary vertical axis title. So it's asking us to modify the chart so that the title of the primary vertical axis is named dollar amount. So one of the easiest ways to do this is click on the vertical axis. And instead of trying to put your cursor in there and trying to type and all that kind of stuff, you can just go up here to the formula bar, click on the formula bar, and in this case, we're just going to type in dollar amount. And notice that it's lowercase in here, so you need to make sure it's lowercase on your exam. So whatever it shows you on your exam, make sure that's the same. Or you can actually go and copy and then paste, but don't paste in and copy the quotations. Okay. And now hit enter, and you can see that it says dollar amount. Next thing, it says to remove the legend from the chart. So in this case, our legend is over here on the infant toddler. There's two ways we can do it. I can just highlight it and click delete. Or another way is on our chart elements here, or under chart design, our chart elements up here. We can go to legend and click none. And now it gets rid of the legend. The last thing it asks us to do here is display the values as data labels above the columns. So right now we don't have our values. And the easiest way, there's two ways we can do it. We can click on this plus up here and click on data labels. And then it's going to ask us where. And normally it places it above, but if you click this little button here, it may say outside end or things like that on there. So we want it above, which would be outside end. And now we have completed the Wizard merchandise worksheet. Now on our quarterly sales worksheet, our instructions, our first instructions, we only have two here. Move the pie chart to its own chart sheet named quarterly sales chart, and move the new worksheet to the end of the worksheets. So go ahead and click on quarterly sales, the chart. Go up here to chart design. To the right, if we remember move chart, it wants it to its own new worksheet. And it's asking us to call this quarterly sales chart. And it would be good if I can spell sales correctly, and just go ahead and click OK. And now we have a new chart, and it's asking us to move this to the end. So let me go down here and actually bring up all of our worksheets, and I'm going to grab this worksheet, and you can see as I'm grabbing it and holding down with my left mouse button, you can see these little buttons down here where it shows I've got that little drop arrow where I'm going to put it, and I'm just going to move it to the end. And we've completed this quarterly sales worksheet. Next is we have our title page and Morning Joe's Cocoa together worksheet. And we're going to look on here. This is all the instructions for both worksheets. And the instructions say copy the formatting of the title and subtitle on the title page worksheet to the title and subtitle of the Morning Joe's Cocoa worksheet. So we see that we have this nice formatting here. And if we go to Morning Joe's, we don't have really good formatting. So on the title sheet, I'm just going to highlight columns A1 and A2. So column A, rows 1 and 2, because that's where my data is. And notice if I click on B, there's no data in B. There's nothing here in the formula bar. So the data is actually in A1 and A2. So I'm going to highlight those. I'm going to click my painter button, my painter up here on my home button. That's a format painter. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to Morning Joe's, and I'm just going to highlight those two. So let me make sure I've done this right. Highlight these two, click my painter button, so I have this little, you can see the little dots going around. That's letting them know that that's being copied, and now I can come here and paste it. And just by moving down there is now formatted this the same way. Number 2 is use an Excel function to lock column B. So it's lock column B. So when you scroll to the right, columns A and B remain stationary. Because now as we scroll, we can keep scrolling and we're off of our titles. So we've done, and this is freezing panes. We've done it where we've freezed rows, and now we're freezing a column. So I'm going to go here to column C, go and go to view, and I'm going to go to freeze panes, and it's not the first column or the first row. So if it's not that, it's freeze panes. And now everything to the left of C is frozen. So you can see as I scroll, I know what items we're talking about. Okay. And I'm also going to minimize this as it's easier to be seen. So that's number 2. Number 3, it says name the table on Morning Joe's Cocoa worksheet as units sold. So this is our table, okay? And this is different than coming over here and naming it in our name box. If it says name a table, what it wants us to do is click on the table, go to table design, and under table name, this is where we're going to go in and we're going to name the table, and it wants us to name the table units underscore sold, because if we remember in naming ranges and those type of things, we cannot have a space, and we typically use an underscore and click enter. And now we have our units sold as our table name. The next part of this is on the Morning Joe's worksheet in cell C33. So I'm going to go down here to cell C33. Okay. It says enter a formula that sums, and so that gives us the hint of the formula we want, sums, that uses the values in ranges, specialty total, smoothies total, sandwiches total, and soups total. Use these named ranges instead of a formula, instead of pointing to a cell reference. So it's asking us to use the range, not a cell reference. So it's equals sum, we'll bring that up, and it's asking what we want to sum. And the number one sum is if we just start typing in specialty total, we have that. And we don't click the add button, okay? It's just a comma. It will do it together. And sum total, our number 2 is our smoothies total. So we can click on smoothies total here, comma, and now it's asking for our sandwich total. And because these are already named ranges, we are actually just bringing in the name range, and then it asks for soups total. And we can click on that. And now we can close it out and hit enter, and we have all of our stuff there, at least on those 4 name ranges brought in together. Next is in cell K33 on Morning Joe's Cocoa worksheet, use a function to calculate the missing entries that are for the month of September. So if we're looking up here, we're seeing the month of September, we have some missing entries, and so we're looking at that. I'm going to go back to where that was. Okay. So come here to September, okay, on K33, and it's asking us to count the missing entries. And if you remember, this is equals count blank. And we're going to choose count blank, and it's asking for our range. In this case, I'm just going to scroll down from September down here and click enter, and we see that we have 5 blanks in there. The last thing that this assignment asks us to do here is on the workbook properties, add yourself as the author and management 1400 as the company. So over here we would go to our file, we would choose info, And if you remember a while back, this is where we did certain things, inspecting the workbook. This is where you would do it, protecting the workbook right here, managing your workbook, your version history, and all of that. And we want you to add as an author. So here, click Add as an author, and go ahead and type in your name as an author, and then click out of it. And the last thing is we want you to add as a company. And notice there's no company name here. We got to click all properties and now add a company name. We have company there, and we want to add management 1400 as our company name there. And if you remember, these are some of the things we can do: protecting our workbook, restricting access, checking for issues, inspecting a document, check compatibility, and those type of things, inspecting the document. Okay. And those type of things, again, we can do that. We can take out other things. We don't want to do that right now. We're just showing you version history and modified by. So we've completed this right here, practice exam number 2. I am going to put up a practice exam number 3 for those that want to continue to practice. If you're in Management 1400, go ahead and save your file, upload it to the appropriate worksheet. File upload, those of you that are just doing it to learn on your MOS 200 exam, thank you for joining us.